Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning we're going to talk about whether you should buy or rent. So let's jump right into it. So the age-old question is seemingly whether you should buy or rent. It seems like everyone has an opinion on this, but oftentimes people don't necessarily know the answer to it. And honestly, the answer really depends on you and your situation. Now, for many people, this question may be super easy to answer, but for those that may be struggling with the decision, I wanted to provide some baseline clarifying questions to help you determine whether renting or buying is best for you in the season of life that you're actually in. So life circumstances are usually the contributing factor as to whether you currently own or you rent. So most people look at their current situation, and based upon that situation, they make decisions for their future. Now, this is common, obviously, but a large decision like going from renting to owning a home should include not only your current situation, but also your trajectory, where you're headed. To help you determine this, let's take a look at 4 key areas that should help you determine whether you should buy or rent in this season. So the first key area comes down to your marital status and or your dependents, those that are depending upon you. And that should be something that is a top question that you ask yourself. Now, if you're single, of course, you have more flexibility in where you live. You can live in a high rise of some kind. You could live in an area that has elevated crime if you're just watching out for yourself, or in an area that has maybe lower performing schools. However, if you have children, you will need to consider the area that you want them to grow up in. And if you have a spouse, you'll want to consider their wants and needs and their safety as well. Now, you can rent or own in your ideal location for the purposes of having a safer environment, having better schools, and those types of aspects. But this consideration should drive whether you factor in the stability of owning a home in a fixed location with a fixed mortgage. And this question needs to be answered from both your current needs and that standpoint, as well as the needs for your future. Now, using the family example, where do you want your children going to elementary, middle, or even high school, for example? But actually thinking about where your family's at right now, your family unit is, and where you ideally want to be in the future will be especially important. Now, aspect number 2 comes down to your business or job stability. Now, asking this question may be difficult for some. It may be something that is hard to answer, but being able to answer whether your job or your business is in a state of decline, whether it's stable or whether it's in a growth season, is especially important. Now, this is important because it's not only telling you, okay, where are you right now, but also it's telling you you may need to make some decisions in the future in order to change the outcome of that and the trajectory for that. So in order to grow your business, you may need to change what products or services you provide. In order to advance in your career, you may have to pivot and change the way that you approach your position. Now, the stability in this area will ensure that you are not blindly purchasing a home just because, but that you're actually factoring in future indicators of what your lifestyle may look like. Now, aspect number 3 looks at location time frame. Now, typically the rule of thumb is to not buy unless you plan to stay in the immediate area for the next 5 years. So looking at whether you like the region, the state, the city, or even the neighborhood that you live in, and whether that neighborhood is actually declining, whether it's stable or whether it's growing, will be especially important. Now, from that point, then you should figure out whether it actually fits the life and lifestyle you want to lead, not only now, but also in the future so that you can grow into that and make sure that neighborhood actually matches your needs. Now, will the area be best for your family long-term, their well-being? Will you be able to have the opportunities that you are seeking to be involved in, as well as having the community and the activities otherwise that matter most to you? If the question isn't a resounding yes, then you may want to consider either buying a less expensive home that you can turn into a rental at some point, or just renting until you relocate. Now, the fourth aspect comes down to financial. Other than the needs of your family, the stability of your income source or sources, and the length of time that you plan on being in a specific location, you will also want to consider your personal finances and the condition of your finances. Now, ideally, you will be in a place to be debt-free of high interest bearing revolving debt like credit cards. You will have a rainy day fund of 3 to 6 months. You will have a down payment to cover the closing costs, as well as additional savings to basically take care of making that house a home. Now, I err on the side of being much more fiscally frugal than probably most Americans, so my definition of financial preparedness will most likely be more cautious than most. So when you go through that list, you may be more comfortable with 3 months or 4 months of living expenses instead of going all the way up to 6 months. Now, accurately looking at your financial picture through developing and living by a budget or a plan to spend will help ensure that you are saving the proper amount in order to buy a home, if that is actually a priority for you. Now, I've mentioned this before, but there are seasons to everything in life. So if you want to buy a home instead of renting, start mapping it out. What is it that you want? And then you can actually align your budget to actually fit what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Now, for most Americans, a home purchase is the largest, if not close to the largest purchase that you make. So if it is a priority for you to actually have a home, don't sit on the sidelines and just wait for it to happen, but define what it is that you need to accomplish in order to get to that point. Now, following these 4 steps will ensure that you are prepared for that decision and making sure that you are making the right decision based on the season of life that you're in. Now, my call to action today is to utilize these 4 key areas to briefly help you determine whether it is best to continue renting or whether it's time to go ahead and purchase. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.